Hi everyone, just a quick one today. This is one that comes up reasonably frequently, which is how do you report out what remains to be done in a schedule from a particular date? So a couple of quick things. Firstly, the easiest way to report out numbers is going to be via a spreadsheet using a formula similar to the one that I've got set up here. So what I've got here is the normal schedule, it's a schedule result field, which is looking at a custom field called waste volume. There's no filter on this one. It's a little trickier if you want to filter, but it's not that much harder. Looking at a particular date and a reporting period. And then what we have is kind of the inverse of that. And in particular, I'm going to make a change to this formula so that it does what it needs to do. But where we format, we don't actually use reporting periods. We actually say look at the entire schedule, but say give me the start date that's greater than, and in this example, what it should be is greater than or equal to the date ahead. So we'll drag that out, and what this is giving us is just trying to squeeze. I don't normally work on such a small resolution. So what we've got here is a date that, sorry, my kids are just coming home. It's good timing. Hey, buddy, come here. It's all right. I'm just doing some work. So we've got a formula here that says we've removed the reporting period references. So if we click into the cell, you'll see there's the references here that are in variables 3 and 4 for the date and the reporting period are gone. But now what we're doing is we're saying, well, the start date is just greater than or equal to the date in the period ahead. So we can do that for summed values, which is pretty easy. You can kind of do that anyway with a spreadsheet, but what it's trickier for is doing it for values that are like weight averaged or minimum or maximum. That can be a lot trickier. So qualities, densities, things like that. That's one way that you can use. Essentially, you don't have to have a reporting period is the trick here. So you don't have to use a reporting period in your spreadsheet. That's one way to have a look at it. The next way to have a look at it is to use post-schedule tasks and ranges. So the other way we can have a look at it is if we go to our post-schedule tasks for this case, we don't currently have somewhere to store the date on this version of the training model. So we'll just create a folder for post-schedule tasks if we don't have one already. So post-schedule tasks, create a date. And generally with this particular one, probably what you're going to do is put on the end date, but start date, it doesn't really matter. It depends on what kind of result you're chasing. So we need some interesting scaling issues happening there, but what we want to do is we want to write to the end date, and the value expression that we want is the maximum end date. Technically not required to put in maximum, but it's good to be clear. So we want to write the end date to the block. You may want to be process specific here. You might want to do multiple ones, but for the moment, just any process at all. And then what we can do is we can create ranges based on those dates for table plots. So that's the other one. So sometimes people want to see like a strip ratio remaining. So in order to do strip ratio remaining, you need to create, so we've got an existing strip ratio plot, although we don't have, the version of this model doesn't have scheduled coal tons, it's called scheduled coal mining tons, so we'll just fix that. But that particular strip ratio plot that we have here is based on the imported data. It's based on like no schedule having taken place. So if we load it up, you can see we've got this particular plot that is here. If we go to the animation though, I'll show you how to create a table plot using the actual schedule itself. So later on in the schedule, obviously the strip ratios are going to be a little bit different. So I'm only going to create one, but we'll go to set up table plots. We'll copy this particular strip ratio plot. So insert copy. We'll pick a particular date. For this model, I believe, July 2019. It's an older model. Let's double check the date that we want to use. Yeah, July 2019 is an okay one. So back to the table plot, set up table plots, and then July 2019. And what we do here is we create a range. We're going to go with alpha pit July 2019 onwards. Alpha pit, and then we're going to look at that new post-schedule task that we created. I'm going to say greater than or equal to the first, and I would actually recommend that what you do is you use the hash, like a string uses double quote characters to define that it's a string. I would recommend that you use the word July rather than going 1/7. Mostly because it's not like region specific. So 1/7 means something in Australia and it means something different in the United States. So that kind of thing, it's not region independent. But if we go 1 July 2019 using the hashes, then it's always going to be compiled to be the correct date regardless of the user's computer settings. So if we set that as our date and we regenerate the layer, we will get a different result to the one that we got without the date on it. So that is only looking at material that's remaining, that hasn't been completed by July 2019, the start of July 2019. So I hope that's useful. If it doesn't cover off everything that you're looking for, please let us know. Some things are easy to do. Some things are quite complicated. Shoot us an email, support@precisionmining.com. I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.